Most of us breathe 20 to 25,000 times a day. And of course, we don't really think much about it. But the way we are breathing actually sends a powerful message to our nervous system and our hormone system. And when we breathe too fast and shallow, we're activating our fight or flight response. When we breathe slow and calmly and deeper, we activate the opposite, the restoration system, our parasympathetic nervous system, which in turn helps to balance our hormones. So we have a choice with every breath, whether we want to be in balance or whether we want to be in stress mode. And this video is going to show you how to breathe properly to activate that calm response versus that stress response. And it will help you sleep better, it will help you in anxiety situations and stressful times, and give you a tool that you can use and that will become part of your everyday life. It's not something that you're going to always have to think about. But right now, just being aware of how you're breathing and how you can change your breathing to shift your nervous system will make a profound difference in your life and hormone balance. A lot of times when I ask people, would you want to live to 120? A lot of times people don't really think that they want to, because they think of the people all around them. Well, most everyone is dying around 70, 80, if they're lucky, into the 90s, 100. So if I live to 120, I won't know anybody. But what if we all could live longer, or at least longer than we do? And actually we can. And many Ayurvedic and gurus from different countries, really, a lot from the Eastern culture, they have taught us how to breathe, and they have noticed that when people breathe slower and more deeply, they do tend to live longer. So that's something to consider as we look through this breathing exercises. And of course, it isn't just about the number of years. I just want to make sure we understand we want to live not only longer, but we want to live longer and healthier, have that energy and that vitality. And breathing is one of those things that can actually help us with that. You have, the things of diet, exercise, breathing. These are kind of all the basics of life that we truly do take for granted, and today specifically about breathing. So not only is this about the physical stresses that we just mentioned, but also causes you to have a lot more anxiety and this low-grade stressful feeling when you have chronic dysfunctional breathing, and affects your thoughts, it affects your mood, and it accelerates aging at the basic cellular level that you then feel unconsciously in your life. So one shallow breath at a time. So what is actually happening in our body physiologically when we shallow breathe versus deep breathing? When we shallow breathing, we're actually activating our sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight response. And we need that at times when there is real danger around, but we don't need that all day, every day, for sure. And it keeps our cortisol levels elevated. And when cortisol is higher, a lot of processes get out of whack, and it causes an increase in inflammation all over your body, which can be involved with weight problems, and all kinds of other physical issues can worsen because of the stress that's put on the body when we're shallow breathing. And it's just like a little bit that builds up over time. It's a cumulative thing. When you slow breathe and you deep breathe, it's a healing breath. And in that way, we're able to restore and repair everything in the body. So that's the reason why we live longer with this kind of breathing, because we're able to repair our cells and our DNA at a much higher level. So what are 4 signs that you can use to know whether you're breathing properly? And these are very common that I saw in my chiropractic practice. So tight shoulders, right? Sitting there either at the computer all day or just being in a tense state, we tend to lock up our shoulders and we get really tight right through here, right? Then even things like unexplained cravings, addictions and cravings for sweets can be related to shallow breathing. Anxiety and fatigue might be more tired because you're not taking in enough oxygen and clearing out that carbon dioxide. And so we tend to have our energy level go down. And back tension. So you might feel it like in the upper back all the way down the spine because, like I was saying about not expanding your lungs in the middle here where your ribs can expand, it starts to get really tight there. The muscles get tight, the bones get tight, and everything stiffens up. So you get this back tension. And this kind of makes, excuse me, it makes more sense when you actually think about the shape of the lungs. And most of us don't. If I ask you what's the shape of your lungs, most people don't know. So they're a triangle shape on each side. And the upper part is called your apex. That's where the thin part of the triangle. And if you're only breathing up here, you can see you're only getting that much oxygen. But if you're breathing down at the bottom of your ribs here, you're having the whole wide part of your lungs being able to, so you have the big part of the lungs all through here. If we're not using those, you will tend to get more pneumonia. You might have more breathing illnesses, atelectasis, that is kind of a condensation of the lungs in different areas, and that's because they're not being used. If you don't use it, you lose it, right? You've heard that before. Well, that just goes for your lungs as well. And you just don't get the right oxygen delivery. All right, so we're going to do a quick little test of your own breathing. And I recommend that you do this as part of our lesson today. So we're going to just do 30 seconds. You're going to count every breath. And then we're going to multiply it by 2, which will be breaths per minute. And we're going to see how your breathing is right now. All right, so it's easier if you close your eyes. So let's start. 1, 2, 3. Stop. All right, that was 30 seconds. So multiply that by 2, and that's your breaths per minute. So let's take a look at the chart. If you're breathing fast and rapid and shallowly to a little bit more extreme, 18 to 20 or more, that's very much a stress mode. And when I worked in an addiction clinic, I found that most of the people who were in recovery were at this level, and they really were not able to calm down and deal with the anxiety that came along with it, and often needed some kind of medication. And it was even hard to teach them how to breathe slower because they were so anxious. All right, but most people fall somewhere between the 12 to 16. So the lower you are, the more optimal. 6 to 10 is more calm, restorative, and healing. And that's where you want to target. So over time, when you start being more aware and you practice some of the techniques that we're going to do today, you'll actually find that your breath is going to start to slow down and you're going to feel a little more energized and calmer, and you'll fall within the 6 to 10 range. I had started out somewhere in the 12 to 16 range, and then over time it went to about 8. So I know that this is definitely possible, and it doesn't have to be something that you're constantly conscious of. It does become part of your normal breathing pattern. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate now how to do a proper breath. And this is something that you can practice, and it's going to be part of the techniques that we're going to teach right after this. This is just a basic 3-part breath. And A lot of you may have heard about breathing through your belly, abdominal breathing, but what we're going to incorporate today is also expanding our rib cage. And you remember what I said about how the lungs are shaped? Well, the largest part of your lungs is right through this middle area. So if you're not expanding that area, you're not getting to the bottom of your lungs and not only bringing in more oxygen, which is part of the healing, calming, cleansing, but also getting rid of the toxic CO2 that actually depresses us and causes negative feelings, as well as aging us and acting as a toxin in our body. So we're going to do a few of these breaths together. We're going to breathe through your abdomen and then expand your lungs, and then breathe a little bit more to the top of your lungs without raising your shoulders. Okay, keep your shoulders relaxed. Hold for a second and breathe out the opposite way. In through the ribs and in through the belly. Breathe in and expand, and a little bit more. And breathe out and let it come in, and breathe in. Push your belly in. Okay. Breathe in through your belly, expand. Expand through your ribs, up in the lung, and breathe out. All right, that's the 3-part breath. And if you breathe like that regularly, you'll start to feel a lot better. You'll understand what I'm saying about the expanding lungs and getting more oxygen. All right, so how does this actually work? What we're doing is we're resetting our nervous system. We're going from the sympathetic fight or flight response into the parasympathetic. And the parasympathetic, many of you have heard the term vagus nerve, and I've had patients ask me, should I buy a vagus nerve stimulator or go to someone that does vagus nerve activation? And this isn't like a special thing. We all have a vagus nerve and we can stimulate it, and we stimulate it directly by taking slow, deep breaths. So why not do it yourself? And one of the exercises that I'm going to go over today is going to have an even more dramatic effect on the vagus nerve. And it also helps to balance your hormones and repair and relax your body. And so that brings down chronic inflammation. It helps to balance estrogen and progesterone for women that are going through menopause, especially. Really, this helps so much because when your cortisol is high, those are low. And oxytocin is a very relaxing hormone. And you might know oxytocin. I'm sure everyone on here has been in love at least once. When you're in love and you have that glow about you and you have those rose-colored glasses on, that feeling is from oxytocin. So if you want to feel more like that, breathing actually can help. So we're going to practice another breathing technique using the breaths that we talked about, the 3-part breath. And we're going to inhale for 4, hold for 7, and then breathe out for a count of 8. We always try to breathe out double the amount of time that we inhale in order to get the most effect from this calming. And the reason I like this technique is this was one that was taught to soldiers coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan that had PTSD. And it was incorporated into a program where they did meditation and different breathing techniques, and then measured it against those that just did a standard psychotherapy kind of program. And they actually found the ones that did the breathing and meditation did far better and had less nightmares, were more social, got along better with their families when they practiced techniques like this. So it's kind of special. All right, so we're going to do 3 rounds of this, and it only takes a few minutes. So let's go ahead, and like I said, it helps if you're sitting feet flat on the floor, and close your eyes. So inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe out, count of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe in, count of 4. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe out, count of 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe out, count of 8. All right. And as you're breathing out, it does help to just focus on relaxing your shoulders, the tight shoulders, and just relax all the way down your body. And if you do a few rounds of that several times a day, you'll actually find yourself being a lot calmer and being able to function better, think more clearly, helps with brain fog, all kinds of things. So that's the first technique we're learning today. I did want to mention, I talked about the calming anxiety, but for those of you who are in postmenopause and have insomnia, this does help improve your sleep because you're lowering your cortisol and helping that balance of the estrogen progesterone, and helps improve the sleep. And also I did mention about sharpening your focus. And this one I really love also because it gives you a long exhale. And you know, I was talking about stimulating the vagus nerve. The longer you exhale, the more relaxed you are and the more you stimulate that vagus nerve. And the humming breath, also the humming mechanism of the vibration stimulates nitric oxide, which clears your sinuses and goes into your blood vessels and helps to open them up, so it's expanding all the way, sinuses all the way into your lungs. And it also is stimulating that vagus nerve. So we're going to repeat this 5 to 7 times. When you practice this at home, I definitely recommend doing a little bit longer session. And I do this every morning as part of my meditation practice. So like I said, let's put your feet flat on the floor. And we're going to breathe in, and then you're going to hum as you breathe out. And you can watch me do this. One more time. Okay. And you know, this is also called the bee humming technique. And if you just practiced with me, you understand why. It feels like you have a bee flying around inside your head. And like I mentioned, we have the vagus nerve stimulation, which triggers that relaxation, nitric oxide boost, which goes in your sinuses, and help clear your sinuses and nasal passages and lungs, and that calming effect. And it also can lower your heart rate. So if you find yourself in a circumstance where you're feeling your anxiety going up, whether it's hormonal related or situation related, going somewhere where you can just hum for a few minutes can completely shift your outlook and shift your response to whatever situation is going on at the time. And I'm not going to actually demonstrate this one about the balloons, but if you have poor posture, like you feel like you're hunched over like this and not being able to keep your shoulders up, blowing up a balloon actually helps to strengthen your core, all the core muscles, and help you have much better posture. And it enhances that core stability. And they found that when people practice this on a regular basis, even just a few times a week, they optimized their posture and they had much better lung capacity. So if you are suffering from issues related to your lung capacity and find maybe you had prior pneumonia or some other reason why you need to strengthen your respiratory muscles and expand your lungs a little bit, I highly recommend that you practice this blowing up balloon. And some people use a straw if they don't have a balloon. The idea is forcing air out that causes you to tighten up those muscles and use them more. They did this with a group of swimmers and found that they expanded their capacity so much better to be able to stay underwater and swim better after a few months of doing this balloon breath. So it's pretty remarkable, some of the benefits that come from this one. So if any of you are suffering from insomnia, whether it's postmenopause or not, doing this breathing outside in the morning is extremely beneficial, not only for the effect of the breathing, but getting the light in the early morning helps to stimulate your melatonin so that it increases your melatonin at night when you need it, and you're able to fall asleep better and stay asleep better just by getting some sunshine in the morning and doing this breathing. Also, doing it before sleep can help with better rest, and anytime you have a stressful moment, like I mentioned earlier. You know how they always say count to 10 when you're in a bad situation and there's a lot of anger going on. If you actually do the breathing and count to 10, you're going to get an even better response. And not only you're going to have more energy, better sleep, and calm, it does help your longevity. And like we were saying earlier, it's not just about living longer, because you never know what's going to happen in your life, but the things that you have control over, it's going to give you longevity with better health. So breathing is automatic, like I said at the beginning, but optimal breathing is learned. And for some reason, it's not something that we teach our children. And so now you know, and we're taught how to breathe. And so the important thing is to do this daily, make it a part of your daily routine, and it will become transformational. And definitely let me know your story and how this has improved your life. If you're ready to go deeper and you're suffering from menopausal symptoms, or you have weight issues and you want to work one-on-one with me, I'm going to put a link in the description. You can request personal guidance and I will definitely answer. We can do a free consultation, see what's going on, and I'll definitely give you some recommendations that can make a difference in your life, whether or not we end up working together or not. And remember, menopause isn't a decline or something to be upset about. It actually can become the most vital chapter yet. It has been for me, and I've been happy to share this with you today, and I look forward to meeting each and every one of you. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.